After 30 years doing economic development, I found myself a consultant about 4 years ago. Usually what happens when you lose your job. What happened to me? I had a great job working for Forest City Enterprises in Albuquerque. We were building a master plan community project that was going to end up being 100,000 population, 15,000 acres, 38,000 houses, and they had hired me to build a business unit to create all the jobs that were going to be the economic base for this new development that would probably take 20 or 30 years to get going. It's actually in the city of Albuquerque. It's a piece of state trust land. And one of the conditions of the development agreement was that we not build the project out on the backs of the existing taxpayers. And so it was my job to figure out how we were going to do that and come up with a plan that would essentially guarantee that as we built houses, we built out the economy at a 2x rate. And about 4 years into it, Lehman Brothers weekend happened, and we actually got about we're probably 12 years ahead on our metrics. Hadn't started building houses yet. And so they scrubbed my business unit. And it was probably 6 months before Lehman Brothers weekend. There was a big meeting with all the brass at Forest City about what are we going to do with this project? Should we go forward? And they couldn't really believe that all these jobs had gotten created. And one of the Albert Ratner, the chairman, asked in this kind of high-level board meeting, we were talking about getting the housing going. Said, so Lautman, is there anything keeping you up at night about our ability to meet these job creation metrics? Because if we don't, we can't meet them, we're probably going to strand this entire asset, and it's a big enough project to tank the company. And I said, well, matter of fact, there is. And I told them that we've done 10 projects and had about 6,000 jobs going in the ground. So we're doing really, really well. Better than any of us expected. And we were kind of looking at each other, wondering why we deserve such good luck. And but we started getting site selection consultants telling us, we don't think this is going to last because you guys don't have enough labor. It just seemed incomprehensible to me that we could build 600 to 800 houses a year, that people wouldn't flood into the community to go to work at these facilities we were bringing in. And one of them, Tim Nitty with KLG in Manhattan, said, now don't take my word for it, go look at the BLS website. And on the BLS website, and I had just read Ken Diamond's book, The Workforce Crisis. And they show this inverted labor supply curve that just stunned me. And I think everybody still is hardwired to think that we have all these extra people to hire every year, and that it's a bottomless pit. And it wasn't until I had to grapple with that and then got some verification that it was true that I started worrying about it. And then after they scrubbed my business unit, I started telling other people about what I thought was a major threat to the economic development profession. And I've been introduced more than once as the Dr. Kevorkian of economic development. And this is going to be a sobering presentation tonight. It's hard to make this funny, or it's hard to describe this problem with a happy ending. It's not clear. So it leaves a lot of doubt, and it's important that you keep your mind, yourself in the right frame of mind. I'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, before I get going, I want to define what economic development is. Any discussion about economic development should start with what your definition of it is. And essentially what it means is your economy, E, is going to grow faster than P. population. If your economy grows a little faster than your population, theoretically, everybody in that economy has a little more to work with money-wise than they had the year before. So household, business, school district, a municipality, a county, everybody's got a little more money to work with. If E's not growing faster than P, then everybody has to serve more people with less money. That's what you're dealing with in a recession most of the time, and it's not only miserable, it's unsustainable. You cannot improve, and most of the factors of production of person faster than the population. There's a really important intellectual construct that goes along with this craft we call economic development, and that is economic base theory. So essentially there's two types of jobs in your economy, whether you define it as Dubuque or the county or the region or the state. There are jobs where the products and services produced are sold outside the economy. It brings all the new money in. And that money, as it's paid out in salaries, circulates around the community. And that creates demand for the second set of jobs, which are the jobs where the products and services produced are sold to others inside the economy. If it weren't for the two different categories of jobs, you could solve all your unemployment problems by opening up 10,000 laundromats. The economy really can't grow unless your economic base grows, your export sector grows. And so most of us in this field of economic development have been tasked by our employers, our cities, counties. In my case, we're master plan community developers. What is this red center of the economy? What economic sectors make up the economic base today? And how could it look different? And how could it improve? Which sectors do we want to grow? Which sectors don't we have that we want to add to diversify? But it's a design exercise at the highest level. It's a design exercise about what could the economy of this community be in 10 years if you got strategic about it. Most of us never really get to this design level. We spend so much time reacting to companies that have kicked our doors in and are standing in our conference room wanting land or incentives or something. So we spend most of our time doing reactive, basically building and managing reactive programs. And it's problematic because we can't operate that way anymore. There's a couple of reasons why, and when I started this odyssey of going out to be a consultant, I wasn't really prepared. I worked for master plan community developers, and we had all these factors of production at our hands, and I didn't have a board and a fundraising exercise to do every year, and so it was really wasn't the same kind of job as Rick has and most of my colleagues in the economic development business. But there's a huge difference between being given a couple $1 million a year to go create a bunch of jobs in a market that's expanding and having to come to a strange town and in an hour tell you something that's going to change the way you behave and change what happens 10 years from now. And that's what this job is now. I just talk. So I don't have a budget. I don't have 10 years to make it happen. I don't have everybody breathing down my neck to make something change. My only real value is to tell you something tonight that gets enough critical mass of either excitement or conclusion that there's a problem to change what otherwise would have happened. So 10 years from now, you're a different place than you otherwise would be. It's a lot more pressure, especially when you add up the hourly rate of everybody in this room times an hour, and it's a lot of money. So this talk is cheap unless you act on something I can give you. So I'm gonna frame the problem tonight, and then tomorrow we're gonna talk. I'm gonna try to get a little feedback from you on where we ought to focus tomorrow. I spent most of probably the first 2 years after discovering this problem. Is it really true? I mean, could this really be true that we're going to run out of labor. I think we're hardwired to think that we're going to always have tons of people, mainly because we were having, since we came out of the caves, 4 to 12 kids per family. Now we're having 1.7. And we're hardwired to, we got to jack the economy up to employ all these kids we just had. That's not the problem now. So, since I discovered this labor issue, essentially what it is, after the recession, 3 or 4 other things came up which make this even worse. Makes the economic development business even less stable and harder to do, and I think change all these things together, change it in a way that warrant just dropping everything we think we know about how to do this and starting from scratch. So, at 64 and being in the business for 30 years, I should be able to go around normally and tell everybody all the cool, innovative ways I learned how to do, how to create jobs. The problem is most of those don't work anymore, or they don't work at anywhere near the return on investment they do. We're in really new, uncharted territory. So here's 3 or 4 things that make this whole thing called managing your economy to grow faster than the population even harder, and together it's daunting. First of all, this recession this is a graph that shows all the recessions since 1948. They were all V's. We started up here, cleaned out a bunch of unproductive business assets, and then the economy quickly grew back and went past where it was before in a fairly short period of time. This is a L pattern recession. It's the one at the bottom. That's the one we're in now. And I think part of the problem is, a big part of the problem, is that 20% of our economy in 2007 was fake. It was an economy based on, well, 20% of it anyway, it was based on consumption, financed by debt. Nobody was going to pay off. So we still have to grow back through that false part of the economy before we're back to where we were in 07. And there's a whole bunch of headwinds in front of us for regenerating that demand. We boomers, we're not spending money, we're not making investments in hard assets that keep manufacturing and jobs create jobs like we were before. Our kids aren't forming households at the rate that we did, and they're not spending money the way. They've been traumatized by this recession in very similar ways that our parents were traumatized by the Great Depression. And I think the consumption patterns are going to be forever different.